Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another season of Roscoe's recaps where I'll go through the Roscoe's viewing parties for Drag Race and recap just the juiciest parts. This particular video is for season 18 episode 1 and the guests this week were Mistress Isabel Brooks and Willam. Also, you should go and check out the full Roscoe's viewing parties on their YouTube channel, and as always, I'll link to that in the description. So today we're going to be talking about Mistress Confronts Willam about their online feud, Naysha Lopez claps back at Drag Race YouTubers who said things about her, and Ginger Minj gets called out again for lying. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. But before we get started, if you're like me and your New Year's resolution is to eat a bit healthier and get a bit fitter, then you should check out the sponsor of today's video, Hypnosio. Hypnosio is a self-hypnotherapy app which transforms your weight loss journey by addressing the root causes of weight management. For example, I just came back from vacation, you might be able to see from my tan. Maybe not. But after 3 weeks of eating out at restaurants and lots of snacks and ice cream, I definitely feel like I want to get back to some more healthy eating habits. What I love about Hypnosio are these self-guided meditations, which are not only so relaxing, but they also address things like overeating or poor eating habits.
Welcome to Hypnosio. This guided hypnotherapy session is focused on craving control. If you've been dealing with cravings for unhealthy foods, you're in the right place.
It's available on the web as well as an app on any device, and it can be downloaded from the Apple and Google Play stores. Hypnosio is also perfect for me because, believe it or not, I do actually have a pretty busy schedule and I'm often up late in the night editing videos. So Hypnosio is great for fitting into my busy schedule, but also for things like helping me to avoid unnecessary late night snacking. So what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description or the pinned comment, and as an extra bonus, you'll get 15% off your first subscription. And thanks again to Hypnosio for sponsoring this video. So they started with host Naysha Lopez asking if they liked that season 18 started with a design challenge rather than a talent show, which goes back to the old school Drag Race format. Willam said a design challenge is better because a drag queen should know how to style and put things together, and it shows that you take your look seriously because half of it is about the look. Willam then said, quote, "If girls show up ugly with no nails, they shouldn't get paid." Mistress added that with the talent show, we're, quote, "tired of hearing the Joella Puss B track, everyone just dancing saying bleep." They then watched the part of the episode where the queens were working on their design challenge outfits, but several queens said they can't sew. Host Batty Davis said, quote, "I think it's safe to say it's imperative that you know how to sew when you go to Drag Race." Naysha said she knows Mistress can sew, but asked if Willam knows how to sew or did she learn how to sew because of Drag Race. Willam explained that she started sewing when she was in first grade because she wanted to make a teddy bear because her parents would not buy her the one she wanted, so her first grade teacher taught her how to sew. They then talked about RuPaul's main stage outfit, and Naysha said she thinks RuPaul watches Roscoe's and Willam's podcast Race Chaser because, quote, "we ate her alive last season for the ridiculousness that she was coming down that runway with, but she looks sickening in this episode." Naysha followed this up by saying that Drag Race has a way of doing things that are so relevant to right now, even though this season was filmed a long time ago. And as an example, it was really cool that they had Cardi B as the guest judge this week, because Cardi has been a real advocate for the LGBT+ community, and once said, quote, "if you don't got a gay friend or a trans friend, you just ugly." They also applauded Cardi for bringing on 2 members of her glam squad team, Erica LaPearl and Tokyo Styles, her makeup artist and hairstylist respectively, who are both trans, who appeared during Untucked, and they all agreed it was so amazing that Cardi did that. Later in the episode, Willam vaguely mentioned this again and said how nice it is to see someone who supports the community and isn't just being performative, and vaguely mentioned the drama to do with Nicki Minaj. Just to explain in case you don't know, you may remember that back during season 12, rapper Nicki Minaj was the guest judge on the premiere episode. However, over the years, Nicki has become a pretty polarizing person because she has made several anti-LGBT comments and has started supporting more right-wing people. Nicki has also been called out by other people, such as Cardi B as well as other Drag Race queens, so I'll quickly go through that now. Nicki Minaj and Cardi B have had an ongoing feud for over 10 years for various reasons. However, in October 2025, Nicki called Cardi's daughter, quote, ugly and a vulture on social media. According to several articles online, Nicki has been openly MAGA, or in other words, Make America Great Again, which means a supporter of Donald Trump. But in more recent years, Nicki has reportedly made several transphobic comments and has also frequently criticised California's governor Gavin Newsom for his pro-trans views. Nicki also recently appeared at the Turning Point USA conference, which is a conservative organisation that was founded by right-wing political activist Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated back in September 2025. Nicki appeared at the conference with Charlie's widow, Erica Kirk, which many people saw as Nicki openly supporting the right wing, who are usually very anti-LGBT. Nicki also openly supported Donald Trump during the conference and called him the, quote, dashing, handsome president. Nicki got a lot of backlash for this, and some reports have suggested that Nicki lost a lot of followers on social media, and after the event, she apparently temporarily deactivated her Instagram. Many people have questioned why Nicki would do all of this, especially after she was on Drag Race, and some theories are that Nicki is trying to get a presidential pardon for her husband, Kenneth Petty, who is a registered sex offender and is accused of SA against a 16-year-old girl. However, this is just a theory, and some people think Nicki has always been right-wing, but it's only just started to come out more in recent years. But because of all this recent controversy, many Drag Race queens criticised Nicki and said people should not support her and should stop streaming her music. One queen in particular who called Nicki out was Heidi in Closet, who you may remember got critiqued by Nicki during season 12, where Nicki said that she hated Heidi's hair and makeup.
I hate your hair and makeup today.
Back in December 2025, when all of this Nicki controversy happened, when Nicki appeared with Erica Kirk, Heidi tweeted saying, MAGA Minaj, so it was more than just my hair and makeup you hated. Nicki actually responded to Heidi's tweet by saying *than, because Heidi had made a grammatical error by saying then rather than than. Heidi's tweet then got flooded with a lot of hate from Nicki Minaj fans, who are called Barbs. Heidi then tweeted saying, I love the Barbs in the comments, run that algorithm up. Several Drag Race queens supported Heidi and called Nicki out by commenting on her tweet. For example, Megami replied to Nicki saying, Cardi B has more Grammys than you. Joey J commented saying, I'd be less worried about the typo and more worried knowing the next cast of To Catch a Predator, but that's just me. Nikki Doll commented saying, Ew, Mariah was right, which is presumably a reference to the fact that Mariah Carey and Nicki Minaj were both judges on the show American Idol and had a very public feud after Nicki allegedly threatened Mariah, and Mariah said Nicki was unprofessional and a bully. Back to Drag Race, and Heidi tweeted further about the situation after people said that Nicki was justified in her criticism of Heidi's hair and makeup. Heidi said, "The mug and hair was a chop that day, I can admit that. However, something I can say is, I have never nor will stand with P-words." P-words being someone who is attracted to children, which is presumably a reference to her husband who is a sex offender. There's a lot more to this situation which I don't have time to cover in this video, but this was just a quick overview of why many people within the Drag Race community have called out Nicki Minaj and praised Cardi B. Going back to Roscoe's, they talked more about the queen's looks, and Mistress said she hates when they hype up that so many of the queens this season are very established and experienced, but then a lot of them were, quote, horrible from a design point of view, and people in the audience laughed. Mistress said that Jane Don't and Vita Von Teese Star were the only ones that were sickening. Mistress also said she liked Discord Addams, but Naysha mentioned how bad Discord's runway walk was, and Willam said that the walk was, quote, diabolical, and cancelled out anything good that she had on. On a similar note, they mentioned that in Untucked, Discord was upset that she was not in the top, and she even brought this up to Cardi B when Cardi B came to Untucked, but Willam said she thinks Discord's walk is what kept her out of the top. The other host, Caramel, said that they're not going to tell Discord about the walk because that way she'll do it a few more times and then they'll bring it up afterwards. Naysha added that Discord's biggest mistake was letting them know that she was upset about not being in the top, because now they'll deliberately not put her in the top just to get that reaction out of her. But Mistress said you have to remember that the queens do not get to see each other's walks on the runway, so they probably didn't know how bad Discord's runway walk was. Mistress said she loves that Discord was getting so hot about not being in the top, and if Mistress had been there, she would have poked her even more to get a bigger reaction. Willam asked the audience what they thought of Discord, and not many people said anything. Willam then said, quote, "just taking the temperature," and everyone laughed. Mistress said she needs to say something and she hopes it doesn't get taken the wrong way, but the whole time she's watching, she keeps thinking about the supposed rumours we've all heard about that Discord got disqualified from the season and allegedly did some problematic things. If you don't know what that's in reference to, I did do a video about that which I'll link to in the description. But Mistress said, when a queen goes on to the season with people already not liking them, that's the perfect person to, quote, make look the absolute fool. So I can already see where this is going. They're gonna make her look a hot ass mess. Naysha kind of disagreed though and said she's the first person who will call out production because they do shady stuff like that, but in this instance, Naysha thinks it's Discord who decided to walk like that on the runway, and it was Discord who decided to get heated that she was not in the top and brought it up to Cardi B, so you can't blame production for things like that. They talked more about Untucked and mentioned the new little area this season where the queens can talk to the camera. Willam explained that they did something similar on season 4, and every episode they got the queens to go into the, quote, ladies' room, and although they filmed it every episode, they only ended up showing it twice. Also, apparently the lighting in that room was so bad, and that's why none of the queens wanted to go in there. Naysha mentioned something similar on season 8 with the Shade Tree, where multiple of the queens could go in and do confessionals together, a bit like the show Real World. However, they barely ended up showing it in any of the actual episodes. They moved on to the Q&A session, and an audience member asked Naysha and Mistress how they felt that Ginger Minj has replaced Bad Bunny as Puerto Rico's icon, and everyone laughed. Just to quickly explain, there's been a lot of discourse about Ginger Minj recently. She's been accused of lying or making up things, and has been called out about it on many occasions already. I did do a video about this which I'll link to in the description. However, I may need to do another video about this because there have been so many other examples since I made that video. But one of the things that Ginger has previously said is that she has Puerto Rican heritage. However, some people suspect that this is not true or that Ginger has exaggerated it, which is presumably why people in the audience laughed when the audience member asked the question about Ginger being a Puerto Rican icon. Naysha laughed and said, in Puerto Rico, they have an expression which says that you're Puerto Rican because it's in your blood, not necessarily where you live or where you were born. Naysha then jokingly said, quote, all 25% of Ginger Puerto Rican's roots, or was it half, or was it 75%, presumably joking that Ginger often lies. Naysha brought up that she had seen a clip of Ginger where she was talking about her Puerto Rican heritage, and I'll show a short clip of it now for those who haven't seen it.
I do have Puerto Rican heritage. I don't live in that world because I wasn't raised in it. It was a distant part of my family. So I would never want to feel like I was appropriating anything because it's not how I was raised. But I've also never hidden the fact that, I am a quarter Puerto Rican.
Naysha said the part that, quote, irked her so fierce about this clip was when Ginger said, quote, I just don't live in that world. Because Naysha said that for her, she not only lives in that world, but she chooses to live in that world. And she's sorry if someone didn't introduce Ginger to that world, but it's Ginger's responsibility to know. Naysha then said, quote, the fact that you made it known now, B-word, get the F out of here with that bull bleep. Mistress added that she has to give Ginger props because she loves a liar, but she likes it when someone makes you actually believe the lies. But in Mistress's opinion, Ginger keeps lying so, quote, sloppily and getting found out about it. They also mentioned Ginger multiple other times throughout the viewing party and made jokes about her, but they did say they do love Ginger and you should not send her any hate. An audience member then asked Mistress if she would ever have Willam on her YouTube channel for Mistress Mondays, and Naysha then asked Willam and Mistress to address their previous beef. Just in case you don't know, a while back, Mistress did a video where she called Willam a liar, a clout chaser, and a sociopath because Willam had apparently made several rude comments about Mistress on her podcast. Willam also released a video clapping back at Mistress, so the two of them appeared to not be on good terms, so it was kind of a gag for them to both be booked at Roscoe's together this week. I did do a video where I covered all of the Mistress versus Willam drama, so check that out if you don't know the backstory, and I'll put a link to that video in the description. But going back to Roscoe's, Mistress joked that she usually only has a guest one time on her channel, and Willam had already been in a video once, which was when she beat her down, so she's not sure she would have her again. But Mistress said if the audience wants Willam on Mistress Mondays, she would do it, and the audience cheered. Naysha asked about the feud between them now and how things are between the two of them. Willam explained that she was speaking like a, quote, armchair quarterback about Mistress on her podcast without ever having met her, and now that she's met Mistress, it's fine and they're both professionals. Willam added that she said something that she probably should not have said, where she said that if she was on a show with Mistress, she would have, quote, bopped her, or in other words, hit her, and she can understand how that would sound like a violent threat. Willam explained that she had been saying that for years because when she was on Drag Race, she had planned to bop Fifi O'Hara, who now goes by Jeremy Carey, because Willam wanted to get kicked off season 4, but Willam ended up getting kicked off the show anyway before it happened, so she didn't end up needing to bop Jeremy. There is some extra tea about this which happened outside of Roscoe's, where Jeremy actually replied to what Willam said about this, and the two of them had an argument. But this video is already kind of getting long, so I'll talk about that more on my Patreon, so if you want to watch that, plus the extra content that I didn't have time for in this Roscoe's video, go check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description. Going back to Roscoe's, Mistress said she wanted to say one thing and then they could squash the beef for real. Mistress played an audio clip on her phone where Willam was asking if there was any danger when she was in Houston that any of Mistress's friends would, quote, jump her, or in other words, attack her. Mistress then said to Willam, quote, "Here's the thing, you spent the whole time talking so much about me, and you said so much about me as it pertains to my career." But Mistress added, quote, "How you allow people to talk to you or treat you is how they're going to greet you when they actually meet you." She went on to say that when she met Willam today, she was very nice and, quote, on hush, and Mistress told her how she wants to be treated and respected. And now she has no issue with Willam, and she thinks Willam is a great queen. She just did not appreciate how Willam had spoken about Mistress personally, but hopefully they can move forward. She joked that she's not going to jump Willam, but she probably should, quote, slap the bleep out of you, but she won't, and people laughed. Willam said she gets it because she would have felt the same way if another queen was talking about her without ever having met her, but it's all good. So it appears that Mistress and Willam have settled their feud. There was then another audience question, and part of the question was asking how Willam felt when Alaska said that she had been blacklisted from World of Wonder because of her relationship with Willam. This is because Willam and Alaska have a podcast together called Race Chaser, and because Willam has criticised and called out RuPaul and the show so many times over the years, people have said that Alaska will never be invited back to All Winners or anything like that because of her relationship with Willam. And Alaska once said something to that effect during an interview.
Well, they don't want to talk to me. And I think it comes back to the fact that I have a podcast with Willam, because Willam is sort of very not very on the outs with World of Wonder. Theron was like, "We're really disappointed that you're doing a podcast." And I never really put two and two together until like it was like ghosted and like the door was closed. And now it's like a joke. It's like the door is fully closed.
However, in response to the question, Willam said Alaska wrote a song called Wow, where she seemingly criticized World of Wonder. So Willam said, if WoW does hate Alaska, it's because of Alaska and not because of Willam, because Alaska has said what she wants to say and aligned with who she wants to align with, and she never has to answer to them again. There were also a few questions about Ginger Minj, and whether Ginger has replied to Mistress's offer to pay her $15,000 to come on Mistress Mondays. But it's a bit of a complicated story, so I'll talk more about that in a separate video which will be on Patreon. And finally, an audience member asked Naysha how she feels that Darby and Alexis from IMHO talked crap about Naysha on the Kelly Mantle podcast. Just to explain, Alexis and Darby are two drag performers who are known for their popular YouTube show called IMHO, where they talk about Drag Race as well as other topics. They're known for being very jokey and shady, but usually not in a serious or malicious way. Back in September 2025, Darby and Alexis appeared on Kelly Mantle's podcast. Kelly was asking their opinion about different queens, and when she asked them about Naysha Lopez, they questioned why Roscoe's pays to fly Naysha out every week to Chicago to host Roscoe's, and here's a clip of what they said.
Listen, she's a pretty girl, and I'm glad she had such success with Miss Continental. I don't think Drag Race is her vibe. I don't think she's successful doing it. And I think when she lived in Chicago, I think it was really nice of Roscoe's to bring her in to do the viewing party. But now she lives in LA. And
does Naysha live in LA?
Roscoe's pays to fly her out weekly.
We love
to
Roscoe's,
host the show.
by the
And
way.
we love Roscoe's. Naysha is not doing what I think she thinks she's doing. And I don't understand why they would spend so much money flying in a local girl who's not a local girl, who's also not funny, and that the fandom doesn't respect.
So going back to Roscoe's, Naysha said she'd never heard of either of the two of them and she had not seen the clip, but the others at Roscoe's summarised what they had said. Naysha kept mentioning Alexis, although it was actually Darby who mainly said the things about Naysha. Naysha said, quote, Alexis, this other B word who had a lot to say about me in the press. Alexis, I don't even know who that is, and the fact that she knows me says a lot. Naysha went on to say, Alexis is clearly someone who defines a person's drag based on a TV show, but Naysha was successful before Drag Race, and she'll be successful after it as well. She then asked if Alexis has done a halftime show for the Chicago Bulls, or won Miss Continental or worked with J-Lo. So Naysha said, quote, in a nutshell, I have a stunning resume, and I'm booked here to share my opinion, not because I think I'm better than anybody. Naysha then said about Alexis, quote, now this is clearly someone who clearly does not have work and is not booked. People laughed, and then Batty said that they were going to end it there, and then they moved on to something else. But in the comments on the Roscoe's video and the clips that were shared of this online, a lot of people said that they were team IMHO, but they also thought that it was funny that Darby was the one who actually said most of the stuff about Naysha, but it was actually Alexis who Naysha kept mentioning, which was just funny. And as of right now, I don't think Alexis or Darby have addressed what Naysha have said as far as I can see. So there you go, there was a Roscoe's recap for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18, Episode 1. Let me know what you think of the premiere episode of Season 18, and do you prefer a design challenge or a talent show as the first episode? Let me know in the comments. Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to my newest Patreon member, Jenny, who joined in the You're a Winner Baby tier. Jenny, you are a winner baby. If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as exclusive content, member shoutouts, priority when submitting interview questions, as well as many other benefits, please consider checking out my Patreon to support the channel, and I'll leave a link to my Patreon in the description. I'd also like to say a massive thank you to all of my amazing Patreon members. Honestly, you are the backbone of this channel and you really keep it going. I so appreciate all of your amazing ongoing support, so thank you all so much. Please can you make sure you like and comment on this video, because it really does help to boost the video in the algorithm and promote it to more people. And most importantly, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It does make a massive difference to the channel and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.